Hello, you lovely folks out there, and welcome back to Needle Drop Nation. I'm Jodie Barias, and this is my lovely buddy and co host, Nick Wood. Today we celebrate 1966, which is a special, special year. And the title is Grit Groove and the World on Fire. And the most important thing is, it is the year that my dear buddy, Nick Wood, was born. And there's so much to celebrate about in this year. A lot of changes, a lot of things happening in the US, in the UK, and all over the world. But we'd love to start off with something real celebratory on Nick's side of the woods in 1966. And let's talk about it, the World Cup, Nick. What happened in that year with the year you were born?
Yeah, I know. 66. Wow. It was for anyone living in England in particular. It was, the year we won the World Cup, the Soccer World Cup.
What?
Woo!
Yeah.
It's the only time we've ever won it. We've come close a couple of times since, but yeah, only time we've won it. And it was against, of course, our arch footballing rivals, Germany, which in those days, of course, was just West Germany. So it wasn't even the whole of Germany, and it was it was wonderful at Wembley. So it was in England. We won 3-1. It's famous for a hat trick by Geoff Hurst, the striker, who normally, here's the interesting thing, normally wouldn't have been playing, but early on in the competition there was an injury to Jimmy Greaves, who was one of the best scorers of goals we ever had. But he got injured, and so Geoff Hurst stepped in. He got the fame and fortune. Jimmy just had to
Wow.
settle for being a national hero anyway. But yeah, so 66. The controversy being, did the ball cross the line for the goal? The first, and it's like, yeah, we say it did. The Germans say it didn't. Who cares? It's all over. We won the World Cup.
Mhm.
The Jules Rimet Trophy, as it was called back in those days. So yeah, all good stuff. It was and of course I was born. So yeah, 66, not a bad year in my view.
Oh,
And of course, Jodie, we had some cracking music too.
absolutely. I think that what made 1966 an amazing year was we saw the reemergence of the ballads, the love songs, timeless pieces. I know that on the top charts of the UK, we saw Frank Sinatra, Strangers in the Night.
Strangers in the Night, yep. And the
Yep.
biggest selling song in 66 was Tom Jones' The Green Green Grass of Home,
Oh, wow.
which I haven't told you this bit actually, Jodie, but when I was a little kid, and I mean really small, I mean less than 10 small, we had this tiny little record player and had some old 45s. And in that old 45 section, I think it was actually from my Auntie Mary, but we had The Green Green Grass of Home by Tom Jones. We had Delilah, his other one. And the
Mm,
other one I remember in this little 45 vinyl collection was Louis Armstrong. Um,
wow.
I can't think of the song.
What a
Uh,
wonderful world.
what a Wonderful World. Yeah.
That's a
So
beautiful
not
song.
sure, not sure what years they were, but certainly the
Hmm.
Green Green Grass of Home. We had that one, and so that was played constantly because it
Hmm.
was we had all we had. Couldn't afford to buy a record back in those days. But
Yeah.
that was part of my musical history, particularly the Green Green Grass of Home. When I saw that as being the biggest seller in the UK for '66, I
Hmm.
was very very pleased. I was touched, almost as much as I was touched by having one of my all-time favourite songs was number one on the day I was born. That was the Rolling Stones and Paint It Black.
Oh, wow. That is a great song. I think in rock and roll history, when you think about it, it really tells you a story. And also with the musical arrangement, you hear Eastern strings, particularly from Sounds of India with the sitar. And wow, the brilliance that the Stones did with the creativity of Brian Jones.
Oh,
We
yeah.
Yes, I mean we hear that in that on the track, but we also hear it from the Beatles as well in their album Revolver, and it's very fascinating with the story of how the Beatles were introduced to Ravi Shankar on the set of Help, the film. George Harrison and the Beatles were listening to Indian music during their time on the set during rest, and George was fascinated and said, "Who's this artist?" And he goes, "I got to meet this person and I got to study." Um, and basically, in 1965, George met with Ravi Shankar, and he literally studied not just the sitar, but other Indian musical instruments, string instruments. And then you will hear it specifically in one of the tracks in Revolver, Norwegian Wood, which is a beautiful song, another a ballad as well. But yeah, I mean, it resonates, I think, that whole year, going back to the expression of creativity and also romance. And we'll get into the wild side later on in this episode. But yeah, we see on the top of the charts, beautiful romantic ballads. We also had the Righteous Brothers
Yeah.
on the top of the charts in the U.S. as well.
Yeah.
Also, what was yes. And then, is there anything else, Nicholas, that you would like to talk about in regards to what was really important in 1966 out in England?
Yeah. Well, in England, it was a bit of a bit of a change year as well. We had a very it was a shame. We had a big Labour government. Harold Wilson and his Labour government were voted into power, very working class,
Mm-hmm.
and that was, I think that's also shown in the music of the time as well. It's, they stayed in power for a long time, but actually to try and modernise Britain. It was, still post-war, but things needed to modernise. That we just caused some change, or just caused some pain rather. As I say, and obviously I don't remember 1966, but I remember Harold Wilson from in being in the 70s and as a young boy. He had a lovely Labrador dog. Can't remember his name, but he was famous for smoking a pipe. But a very, very honest and a committed man. He was one of those that you would call a good leader. Didn't matter which side of the political divide you were sat on, but yeah, no, he was a good guy for sure. So we had that struggle, and then we had the tragedy of '66 was the Aberfan in Wales, the coal mining disaster where a big slag heap slipped down the mountain and basically wiped out a school and half a village. And we were it's very unusual today even to lose. I think there was over 150 people died.
Wow.
Obviously, many of them school children. So very, very, very sad time. But as we said, but actually that inspired in 1967 the Bee Gees and their New York mining disaster
Hmm.
song, which apparently they only changed it to New York to give it more glamour. Which is, I mean, how do you glamorize such a tragedy? But apparently so. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. You know how you ask Chat GPT some things and you think,
Hmm.
okay, but it does. It sounds about right. It sounds
Yeah, you know what's really interesting is that in 1966 also, I mean, you still had the famous Carnaby Street and the styles of fashion, which
yeah,
I felt really expressed the time of creativity, through art and style, with the middle class, the working class youth, and it,
exactly.
again, the rise of the working class was something that was a really strong statement in the UK at the
It, it,
time.
it really was, and we had the likes of David Bailey cutting his teeth in photography and fashion photography. We had Twiggy, I think, started to come to the
Tricky.
fore in 1966, and so yeah, and it was the old the skirts were getting higher,
They're getting
and
shorter. Yes, they were.
and the trousers were getting tighter. So it was
Hmm.
so really in '66 in the UK, I think we were just kind of transitioning from a music sense into that experimental like global love that was the late '60s, late '60s build, but very different vibe in the US. Though, Jodie,
Mhm.
you had some cracking, well, not cracking. You had some serious issues going on, and
Mhm.
the music reflected on that.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, we still had the Vietnam War going on. And also, there was a rise in rebellion with youth expression. But at the same time, there was this essence of, again, fighting for civil rights. I mean, we had the Brown versus the Board of Education, which declared that segregation was unconstitutional in the United States, and that made movement. And I do commend the civil rights efforts, and especially during the marches, paved the way for acts to be put in place, such as this. But also, one of the things that, from a creative standpoint in music in 1966 is, you're introduced to the mamas and papas with California Dreaming. That's again talking about reverie and dreams. And then also, the Beach Boys,
One of my favourites.
California Girls. I mean, that's something of a great form of escape when you listen to those tunes on the radio. So it's really interesting. And then of course in the United States, one of the top hits. Again, I'll mention it again, is Frank Sinatra. But then also in the UK, you had a special lady with "These Boots Are Made for
We
Walking" on
we
the top
did,
of the charts in the UK.
yeah, exactly. And then the 10 biggest selling singles in the UK, yeah, was Frank was number 2, and Nancy I think was number 9. With These Boots Are Made for Walking. I'm trying to think of when else we might have had a father and daughter um, on their own in the top 10 selling singles. I have to do a bit of research later on
Hmm.
and find out. But of course, also what was going on. Of course, there was also the space race going on, and
Hmm.
so I think in '66, I think we might have seen the first spacewalk.
Hmm.
And when you think, that was such a such a fast. I mean, to say yeah, we're going to go to the moon in the next 10 years, and then actually do it. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, the pace of exploration uh, is just stunning when you look back at what they were doing space wise. It's incredible.
Oh,
But yeah,
and for like it basically propelled the world to view the needs and the call to action with the advancement of
mm,
technology and being to travel beyond our planet and landing on the moon. I mean, later on, you'll see that the United States was able to achieve that, I think, in 1968, 69 with Neil Armstrong and his team.
that's right.
But, I know Russia already had its mission in landing as
Of
well.
course,
And
yeah.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, and of course we also, we had not only the space race going on, we had the Cold War was still a very real thing, so we were still living
Mhm.
under the threat of two two continents launching all their nuclear weapons at each other. Thank goodness that hasn't happened. Touch wood.
I know. It's like we always have to brace, and hope for the better, hope for peace. And we always, but yeah, one of the things is I must say is that 1966 really built a time when what I love about 1966 is the rise and the origins of Blue Eyed Soul. Um, you know,
Ooh,
yes.
blue
So
eyes. I like that.
Blue Eyed Soul, yes. In the UK, one of the artists that I always looked at that reminds me of the genre Blue Eyed Soul is Dusty Springfield. And
Yeah,
she's, she was around for several years and did collaborations with great artists
yeah. Through the
um,
decades as well.
through the decades, exactly. And also here in the United States, we had the Righteous Brothers.
Yeah. Oh, they were good.
Hmm. And I think one of the songs that I will always remember is Unchained Melody.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the most beautiful ballads. But it's just that whole visibility of Blue Eyed Soul and artists that contribute to that. 1966 paved the way to presenting artists and really resonating great works in the years to come.
Oh yeah, and I tell you what, we got. I mean, if you're listening, in the show notes we do have the playlist. Of course, we've got about 20 songs on there, I think. Some of
Mhm.
the songs in there, Jodie, are absolute bangers. We got when I was skimming down it the other day when you first produced it, I was thinking, the Monkees. They're almost like one of my guilty pleasures. Where one of the first of my friends
Mhm.
to actually admit to having the Monkees' greatest hits because it was just a TV show, but their music was awesome. And '66, I'm a believer. I'm a
Mhm.
believer, I'm a believer. You can't help but sing it in your head. It's as we know, written by Neil Diamond. But
Mhm.
these guys,
That's right.
these guys could play. They weren't just, not just acting. They knew how to play. They really did.
And they were
A
a
lot of
band
it,
that had a TV show, and that's what
yeah,
not only teenagers look forward to, parents look forward to it, kids look forward to watching them on the show. It was something that was an anticipation for the next week and the next week
yeah.
to see what adventures the four boys were doing.
And it was,
And
and it was fun. But you told me a couple of weeks ago a fact I didn't know because I was waxing lyrical about how David Jones, yeah, he was a UK guy, he was from Manchester,
hmm
and then you told me why he was so good looking.
yes, he's half Sri Lankan, and I was just like, it was shocking, and I was like, but you know what, I could see that, and it was amazing how there was, Davy Jones, even though he was the good looking one, he was the shortest one, I think, of all
He was,
the
yes, for
members.
sure. Yeah,
hmm Michael Nesmith, who was the drummer or the guitarist, he actually ended up being a producer later. And
yeah, he did a
yeah.
lot of he did a lot of country and western style,
hmm
didn't he? Yeah, Mickey Dolenz was the drummer
hmm
and sometimes singer
Yep.
because remembering from that amazing album, it wasn't quite '66, but he did a song called "Going Down," which is
Oh,
probably
yes.
one of the best jazz songs I'd ever. Certainly at the time, I'd never heard anything like it. It was like
hmm
go on and it goes on. But it's not a short 3 minute one. It's like a good 5 minute, a 5 minute song, and it is. If you've never heard it, hit that playlist and well, it won't be in the playlist. Go search it and play. go find,
you know
go
that
find.
that's
Say I'm a believer, then say, and they'll find me some more. But
some more
yeah,
monkeys tunes.
going down is just a corker. And then Peter Tork was the other guy, wasn't
Peter
he?
Tork.
Blonde.
Yep.
Yeah,
That, and like I said, I think it was also reminiscent of the Beatles' Help, because that was also a film that was meant
yeah,
to also have the comedic tone to
yeah.
it. And but then that was a film, and then now you have a show with the monkeys, and it was, like I said, there was always an anticipation of what was the next adventure of the four of them, and it was like a spoof, and that was the era of comedy back then, with laughing. That was a
Yeah.
variety show, and then you had the monkeys, you had Batman, and Batman was like almost like a spoof with some
Oh,
of the action in there.
yes, of
So,
course. Batman, yeah,
hmm
Adam West and
hmm
Burt
and,
Ward.
and yep, yep,
Yeah. Oh,
and Eartha
oh,
Kitt was
yes.
Catwoman. Remember her?
Yeah, you got Eartha Kitt was also in a Peter Sellers film. What's New
Mhm.
Pussycat? She was
What's
in
New
that as well.
Pussycat? Yep, I
Wow.
know. Some
Yeah.
things to celebrate in the '60s, right?
there
Fashion.
was there was some good stuff. Yeah, yeah. You got
hmm
some of my favourite actors were around in those days. Peter O'Toole, Richard
hmm
Burton, very young
hmm
Michael Caine, I think, was around in '66.
Peter Sellers.
Peter Sellers, of course, of course.
hmm
I was watching on YouTube. I was watching an old episode of we had a guy in the UK called Parkinson who used to do the Saturday night
hmm
interviews, And I
Mhm.
saw a recording of it, I think it was in '71. This was, and he had Peter Sellers as his guest, and Peter Sellers was just reading off from the old Goon Show days that he
Mhm.
did with Spike Milligan and Harry Seacombe, and they had all these characters, and he was just reeling off them as they're explaining the idea behind their different voices, and then doing their different voices. It was, I don't know, it was just one of those things that just, entranced me as to just how incredibly funny he was.
Oh
But I have to
yes.
say, in the days when I'm going to sound like a right old git now, but in the
Mhm.
days when you didn't need to have bad what am I trying to say? Bad language. Um,
Mhm.
it wasn't, nothing was particularly sexualized, or
Mhm.
nothing was shock. It was just really well crafted, funny jokes and situations. That was a lost art, I think, to a degree.
No, absolutely. I feel that, I know, coming from, here in the US, I think one of the things that I'm reminded about with Peter Sellers was the Pink Panther
Oh
series of the
yeah,
Pink Panther. Yes.
no, we'd have
And
had the Bond movies would have been very
the,
big as well in '66. Not sure which one would have been '66. Might have been Goldfinger,
it was
or
Goldfinger. You don't think it was Casino Royale?
uh,
Um,
no, I think in '66. Hmm,
the
could
first
have been
Bond,
the one with Peter Sellers and
Sean Connery.
no, no, I'm
That
thinking of
definitely.
the
Yes, so we
spoof.
got to do a trivia. We got to do a trivia
Yeah, this was
quiz.
there was a spoof Bond movie, wasn't there? And it was Casino Royale, and it
Hmm.
had David Niven in it, and it had Peter Sellers in
David
it. And it had
Niven.
Woody
Hmm.
Allen, that was it. Woody Allen
Hmm.
as Jimmy Bond.
Yes.
But yeah, but as in the real Bond franchise, I think it was Goldfinger. It might have been the one after Goldfinger. Who
Hmm.
knows? One of those things, you're just going to have to look up or take our word for it if you dare. But yeah, again, and all those Bond movies produced great songs. So Shirley Bassey sung
Shirley Bassey.
Goldfinger, and the next one, that I think it actually might be in 1966, was sung by Tom Jones of all people. I do recall.
Hmm.
Can't think of it off the top of my head, but it will come to me in a minute.
Oh my
So if
goodness.
you're listening, you probably know you're going screaming at the podcast. It's
Yes. Oh no, which one is it? Well, I
yeah.
remember Tom Jones did a version of "A Land of a Thousand Dances," which was actually popular, but it was popular by the artist Wilson Pickett in 1966.
Oh right, yeah, yeah. Ah, cool.
Yes. Yeah.
Thunderball,
Thunderball.
Thunderball,
That was the theme. That was the theme song
Thunderball.
from that Bond film too. Thunderball.
Yeah, Thunderball. That was it. Theme to the Bond film, and that was yeah. There was a here's a sad fact. That I used to be that I could tell you every single artist who sung the Bond tunes.
I'm not surprised, Nick. I'm not surprised. Shirley Bassey, Tom Jones, Duran Duran,
And yeah,
Adele. Hmm.
Adele, Adele, and there you go. Links back to my story of when I blagged my way into Abbey Road recording studios.
Oh
That's where,
yes.
yeah, they showed me the piano and the studio where she recorded Skyfall.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't it funny how these little things just pop
Mhm.
in? What else have we got in the music world though? In '66, I love it when we go off on our little tangents.
No,
But
absolutely,
in
absolutely.
'66, we also
Um,
had
let's see. As far
uh,
as
the Who. The kids are all right.
yes,
Yeah,
the
the kids
kids
are.
are
They were.
all right. Yeah.
Ah. we start, if we start singing, Jodie, we're in danger of getting a copyright
of
slap.
being yes, getting
We're that
like
good at
okay,
singing.
they're starting to sing the tunes now. Okay, no, but I mean, one of the things I must say is that this year, I mean, we got Wild Thing, Wild Thing.
Wild Thing, of course.
So that is by the Throgs again. I think
Love.
yes, that's a song that
Imagine,
is.
Jodie.
It's
Imagine if we
not
did
your.
this show drunk.
I know. Can you imagine what songs we'll end up singing? throughout the episode, and then
I know.
because you know what the thing is, we can't play the music, but we
I
can
know.
sing the song, so
You can.
that wouldn't kick us out, right? So
I know. Maybe we should introduce a section so people can say, "Oh, guess that tune in one."
exactly, exactly.
Name that
Um,
tune.
Also, another thing I must say is that was really very popular. But you know, I feel that it was a call to action, especially trying to get people enlisted, young men enlisted during the Vietnam War. The Ballad of the Green Beret um,
Yeah,
from the soldier, the U.S. soldier, Sergeant Barry Sadler. Yeah, so it was. It really talks about first generation and inspiring his son to
yeah.
follow, you know, and going into war. So you know, you see music, uh, you know, talk
I,
about the reflection of the why of going into war, not just about the resistance, but also about there is a voice about the call to action, and this song embodied it. And which was released and in the top of the charts in 1966 as well.
yeah, it was. It was the biggest selling song in the US in '66, and I until we were putting this show together, I'd never heard of it. And so, of course, I went and had a listen, and yeah, it's such a powerful song, and I can just see that a song of its time, totally.
Hmm.
So if you've never heard that, do go check that out on the playlist. It's
And
yeah,
it's like a song of storytelling, because he talks about his experience as if he's talking to his son at the breakfast table and telling him and really giving him the story of his experience and imparting it, to his son, who he's encouraging to go to war. So that, that song, that's how that song, listening to it, how it resonated with me. Um, but yeah, I think also another thing that was very special. I like, how I like to bring up the Beatles again was,
yeah,
you know, um, again, Eleanor Rigby was a fantastic song, and also tells a story, and a journey. I think one of the things that you'll see with the Beatles as they move along, it's really storytelling about the experience of a character. It's character story, and Eleanor Rigby, to
yeah,
me, was one of that resonated. That, and it was. Did you notice that a majority of that track um, was major strings, violins. Dun, 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 dun.
yeah. It's a haunting little melody to it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
And then you'll see how the production works, where it gets from one song to another song. And did you notice that? Like the continuation of one track to the next track. What is that called again? I keep on forgetting. When
ooh,
it's not just one song, but it's when two songs are played.
yeah.
Like,
They just fade
it's
into each other almost.
exactly like, for example, "We Will Rock." I mean, we're getting off topic, but like the Queen, it was We Will Rock You" leads
Yeah,
into a ballad. "We Are the Champions." You notice that in the airwaves
mm,
songs. I think um, the Beatles and Revolver, they did that. It was
yeah. It's almost like the beginning of like concept albums. So
exactly.
the whole thing had a theme tune. Of course, Pink Floyd were very, very good at
Hmm.
these types of albums,
Hmm.
as which we'll come on to obviously in the 70s. Well,
Oh,
we might have some Pink Floyd in the 60s actually. They were late 60s,
yeah, the late '60s.
late
Yes.
60s.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
Floyd.
that's another grouping.
Stay tuned.
You could do a
Also,
whole.
I do want to mention the Supremes as well, because they're one of
Yes.
my Diana Ross and Supremes. Can't Hurry Love, 1966. People probably remember we chatted about him earlier. Phil Collins. Me
Hmm.
and Jodie were chatting about it before, not on the podcast, but we were chatting about Phil Collins and how amazing singer, amazing drummer, and unfortunately
Hmm.
now he can't drum. Um, but yeah, Can't Hurry Love was one of his big hit singles. Uh,
Hmm.
20, 30 years later, I guess, 66. Yeah, that was probably the 80s, wasn't it? Mid 80s.
It was like, yeah, in the mid '80s when he did that rendition of the Supreme song. Yeah, it was really
Yeah,
great.
and yeah, massively popular. So this is what I love. There were some such amazing songs in
Hmm.
the
Yeah,
'60s,
and
in
then
particular.
you got the four tops. The four tops. My
Yeah,
God, and it's something that again, reach out. I'll be there. The Temptations. Ain't too proud to beg.
yeah,
We're talking about the beautiful Detroit Motown continuum.
mm,
That you'll see in the late '60s that are just timeless.
I
And
know. I love that, Jodie, because that's just going to get better and better. I
oh
know some of those
yes,
breakdown songs we're going to be playing.
I know they're going to be fantastic. Like listening to the beats, the bass line, it's great. And one thing that you'll see, like as we get into later in the years, added additional instruments and experimentation with Motown sound. And, right now we see it in England moving along, with different orchestrations and sounds as well. But Nick, so next episode that we will be featuring is 1967. Yes.
Ooh.
So we're going to see more of an evolution in great progress with the Stones, Beatles, also with the Mamas and Papas, and
Yeah.
more bands here in the United States that really dominated what we would see and what's to come in the rise of expression,
Yeah.
patriotism, freedom.
Yeah. And certainly a few bands decided to go more into the studio to express and get more creativity than actually just performing, on tour and live.
Hmm.
Because the thing, isn't it? They used to knock out albums once a year, so you knew you always had an extra one. But yeah, moving into '67, we're going to be seeing some very clever stuff, but particularly from the Beatles, and a couple of massive, massive albums as
Hmm.
well. But you have to wait till next week for
That's right.
67.
We got to wait to like.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! And again,
Oh,
it's a wonderful year. The best thing that could ever happen. The year that Nick Wood was born. Year this episode celebrates.
oh, what a way to celebrate my year. we got to wait a few years for you, Jodie, I'm afraid.
Oh, I know. That's okay. I could wait.
You can wait.
We could wait. But one thing that Nick and I did find out is that Nick and I were born on the same month.
Yeah. So we're almost twins.
That's right. So yeah.
So, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you check out the playlist in the notes. If you want to contact Jodie and I, our details are in there as well. And
Mhm.
we'll be here next week. And obviously, if you're enjoying this, please do give us a review, a good one, if you don't mind. That'd be
Mhm.
nice. Because all these things help, and we can help expand the podcast. Because we got some good things, we've got some great ideas that we want to implement. It's still little embryonic podcast, so
Mhm.
do share, tell everyone about it, and that'd be cool. Jodie, let me leave the final thoughts to you while I think of '67.
Mm. Well, also, I just wanted to add too is that if you're driving or if you're washing the dishes, also think about the fact that we're a podcast. We are also on iTunes. We're on Spotify. So if you go to Needle Drop Nation /transistor.fm, it will give you the options of where to listen to our podcast. So also make the time to listen and also provide comments. We would love, love, love to hear, even for our next episode, what songs you'd like to hear on that dedicated year. So stay tuned. Thanks for those of you who've been listening to us. We love you guys, and you know what? We love you all. Nick and I can't wait to see you next week.
Yeah,
This is
we'll do
such
it
joy
again.
for us. Remember Needle Drop Nation. It's how we celebrate music as a love letter to our childhood. So we'll see you soon. Love you guys.
See you next week, guys. Take care.